Carl, of course, the first game at Gateshead Stadium tomorrow against Halifax. I mean, first things first, obviously with the postponement at the weekend, you had a bit of extra time, I suppose, to work with the boys ahead of the game. So how are sort of preparations and things going on that front?
Yeah, the preparation went well. Obviously, Halifax is a team that we know well, notoriously difficult to break down, not just for us, but you see their results. They're really well organised. Chris has got a really hard-working group there that make it really difficult for you. So we've analysed them in depth. We've looked at all the different ways in which we feel that we can be a bit braver against them. I think in games gone by, our ball speed probably wasn't quick enough. We probably weren't brave enough, and a lot of the play ends up being in front of them, and they do that really well. They force teams into playing that way. But yeah, the message is just to be brave, really bright and creative with our play, and attack the game as positive as we possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it a little bit there, but how much does past meetings, I suppose, between the two of you influence how you're thinking and planning for tomorrow's game? Of course, fans obviously look at it as Halifax as being one of the teams where they're never massively high-scoring games and always quite close, and a team that historically Gateshead have struggled against. Obviously, different players, different managers and things like that. But how much of an influence do you take from past meetings where you've been involved yourself?
Yeah, you have to. I think, having been on the pitch against them as well as a player, I know how well organised they are, and now as a manager, where I'm sort of looking at it from a more tactical point of view, we've gone really in depth today in the areas in which we feel we can be effective against them from an attacking point of view. So yeah, leaning on previous experiences with them, it's really important to use that and obviously find a way in which to win the game.
Yeah, and in terms of the new boys who've obviously been coming into the squad in Magnay and Louis Flower, obviously we touched on them the other day as well, but how have preparations been involving them? I suppose when they're coming into a new side, it's all a bit new in terms of new lads that they're playing with, new tactics that they're getting to grips with and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, they've both really enjoyed their first few days with us. They've both mentioned about the style of play, and they've really enjoyed the training sessions that we've put on, experiencing the way we want to do things, lots of options on the ball, and they've been really complimentary about the group and how the training's gone. So they've seemed to have fitted in really well. Again, they've been really keen to ask the relevant questions in terms of how we play. We've tried to get them up to speed as quickly as possible, and they're bright lads as well, so they seem to have taken on board a lot of the detail and a lot of things that we try and implement in our style, and we're looking forward to them obviously making their debuts hopefully.
And in terms of the team news situation, how is everything looking on that front at the moment?
Yeah, so unfortunately we've lost further 2 players today in injury, so the squad as it stands is a little bit light, so there'll be players introduced into the squad on the bench, and again, these are great opportunities for them to show what they can do in this period. They have to take advantage of it and use it as a positive. The players that we have available to go and play, we're confident that can go and be effective in the game. But just to touch on the recruitment side of it and the selection issues that we have at the moment, I think we're in a different situation than what we were last year. We lost 3 loan players last year in the window. Loan players for us, are notoriously easier to do because we have such a good relationship with the EFL clubs. We were able to replace those players with good quality. This time round, it's been more difficult in the sense that the players that we've lost are permanent contract players. So not having the money to reinvest, we have to then find permanent players on free transfers, free agents if possible, or negotiate hard with clubs to allow their players to go on frees, which is really difficult to do. So we don't want to compromise on quality. I think that's important. We've built a style of play here, and we really look into a specific type of player that we think can come in and affect the side. So we find ourselves in a tough period in terms of selection with injuries and outgoings. Like I said, we've brought 2 players in, but we need to do more work, a lot more work, and we know that we need at least 2 more bodies in. But like I said, they have to be the right ones, and given the situation that we find ourselves in, where we have to replace the real high quality that we've lost with players who we have to bring in on free transfers So it's not easy, and that's why it's taken a little bit of time, but we want to make sure that we, like I say, get the right players for this football club in the building.
You mentioned there in terms of not compromising on quality and getting the right bodies into the building, even though obviously, as you say, you find yourself in a situation where you do need bodies. How important is making sure that they are the right players to come into the building and not just bodies for the sake of bodies?
It's massively important because our style of play is clear. You know, it's part of the culture of the club. It's part of who we are. So like I said, we have to be really specific with the type of player that comes in. We don't just want to have players who are coming into the club and filling the bench or just filling a spot in the squad. They need to come and affect things. And like I said, the circumstances, it's not easy, particularly free transfers, free agents this time of year. So naturally, that's going to take longer. The deals are going to be more difficult to do. But yeah, they have to suit us, and that has to be right. And we won't, like I say earlier, compromise on quality. That's our strategy, and that's what we're going with. We have a couple of deals that we're working hard on. Hopefully by the end of the week, those will be concluded. Obviously, ideally at this point, I would like everybody in and the squad settled as quickly as possible. But the circumstances have dictated that, and I always want to make sure that the right person and the right player comes into the side and he can affect things for us.